to introduce the web tool, which is very exciting for everybody to be able to use. And we're going to really do some deep diving into this tool, and we're going to inquire, how can you use it? What can it be used for? And this is going to probably be an extended time, you know, this month, next month, and maybe some recorded sessions. So they will be available for those who can't join us on the first Wednesdays at 1. And I think right now I'm going to hand it off to Mary, and she's ready, and we're going to move on. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I've been on a few of these first Wednesdays at 1 to talk about reports and our crosstab report, or our all questions by grade report. And I'm really excited to be here talking about the web tool. And the web tool, the PACE web tool, is actually something that Bach Harrison built for PCCD and for the PACE project all the way back in our first administration with PCCD in, I think, 2013. So the web tool has been around for a while, but we're really trying hard to just educate all data users on how to use the tool. We're adding in new functionalities to allow districts to log in and see their own data. So I'm really excited to just show you some of the features of the tool and hopefully to create web tool users out of all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Sophia, can you allow me to share my screen?
It's me. Hold on. We're trying to work. Everybody, we're working on chat right now. So if you're having some challenges, get back in there. And so we will definitely get that going for you. I think I've unshared. Did I unshare or did I not share?
Not yet. It says the participant is shared.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Okay, let me share.
The people in Pennsylvania who are making decisions that impact youth in our Commonwealth have access to comprehensive data thanks to the Pennsylvania Youth Survey.
Okay, I will go ahead and jump in. So this will be kind of just an introduction and a tutorial. Also a note up front is we will be recording essentially the same session just without participants. And that recording will be posted on the website. It'll be posted on the web tool, shared far and wide, and then also shared with administrators as they dive into looking at their data. So today I want to just give a brief overview and an introduction of the web tool, and then really dive into each of the web tools components. So give you an overview of what you're going to see on the home page. Talk about the 3 tools within this web tool. So we don't call it web tools just because that would be a little bit weird, but there are 3 actual tools within this site that allow you to interact with the data in different ways, which is really cool. So I'll talk about the categories tool, the variables tool, and give you an overview on those, and then also the crosstabs tool. And then within each of these discussions, I'll give examples for what the difference is between the tools, why you might use one versus another, what you should go to a tool for, and then also just kind of the steps for how you actually use those tools. And then we'll leave some time at the end for live application and practice. And then we will hopefully have some time for Q&A at the end. However, our next first Wednesdays at 1 is going to be dedicated to web tool Q&A 100%. So we'll be practicing using the tool together more. We'll be answering questions, and we'll have a lot more time for those Q&A. But I would still, if we have time, I would still love to hear your questions at the end of this. So an overview and an introduction just to the tool in general. So in general, the web tool is something that we built for PCCD after the 2013 administration. It was intended to just allow data users to access state level data and county level data when they kind of met our minimum sort of privacy rules in terms of the number of students participating that we could report on. In general, we just are happy to offer these features to data users. It can be data tools can be a little intimidating. And honestly, during the pandemic, I know we were all introduced to data dashboards and data portals and just really inundated with data in general. And this web tool is designed to be just another tool. It might seem intimidating, but overall, we're encouraging everyone just to go in and just treat it with just an air of curiosity and also just kind of a casualness. I think if you go into it just kind of thinking, you know what, I'm just going to explore, I'm just going to push a lot of buttons and select a lot of things, you're not going to break it. So it's definitely something that we're excited for you to play around with those features. So let's just, in general, what you see here is exactly what you're going to see on the homepage. The website is bach-harrison.com/PAIS web tool. PAIS web tool. That's as easy it is. If you just Google PAIS web tool, it will take you here. So let's go through some of the features. So this homepage is just going to provide you an overview of the site. You can see here there's a lot of different links that are going to provide additional information. All of these web links are going to either take you to the main PAIS portal, take you to an how-to guide, take you to a place where you can have the resources to get started, or even take you to Bach Harrison, which is the contractor, which can help you out. If you are brand new to the tool, I would suggest you go to the Getting Started page. We're not really going to be spending a lot of time here, but it's going to give you some background information. And perhaps, honestly, someone who you know is not going to sit down and watch this recording, maybe that would be where they would start. I feel like, honestly, if you're attending here today, you're probably you are probably more informed than what you would get at the Getting Started page. The Categories tool is where you're going to get a look at a broad topic for a small population, and we'll talk about that, what that means in just a little bit. The Variables tool is where you're going to study one narrow topic for a broader audience. So for example, like one individual survey item by seeing all grades or all genders in one spot. The Crosstab tool is a feature used to study data relationships. So to be able to study, for example, parental attitudes favorable to alcohol use in reference to actual alcohol use, or bullying in reference to mental health or suicide ideation. It allows you to take two separate issues and study the relationship between those two. And this can be incredibly powerful and also a little tricky. So we'll talk about that. If you need information on just prevention in general, the state of prevention in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, this is where you would go for more information. Contact information, this is where you go if you have technical questions, or if you just have a question you aren't really sure who would help you to answer it. In general, too, we are very excited. This is the first year we are offering superintendents and charter school administrators with a login option that will allow them to see not only state and county level data, but also their district or charter school data, which is super, super cool. So there is a login feature, and this is where you would find it in the top right-hand corner. So let's talk about the first tool, this Categories tool. You would use the Categories tool if you're interested in looking at a broad topic at a more narrow level, so for a more narrow population. So for example, if you want to look at the topic of bullying, it's going to show you all the questions that we have related to bullying, but it's going to force you to pick maybe one grade or a gender or a grade gender combination. So again, you're looking at a broad topic for a narrow population. This would be really great. Let's say you are a middle school counselor, and honestly, 8th grade is the only grade that in your school that took PAIS. This category tool should be your friend, because that's where you can go and look at topics on mental health, bullying. You can look at a number of items and just really focus in on your 8th graders at different gender levels. But let's say this would not necessarily be the tool you would want to use if you are just you're interested in looking at mental health or bullying on a more broad level, where you're looking at grades side by side. So you can also use this to create charts, to export data, and we'll show those features later. So there are 5 simple steps for using this category tool. First, you're going to select a category, and this isn't interactive, but when we go to the live test and demonstration, I'll kind of show you how that works. But a category is just going to allow you to kind of find your focus and get a sense of what all you could explore with this tool. You are going to select the entity type. So right now you could select to look at the data at the state level, at a county level, or if you're logged in as a district admin or a user, you can select district level. You're going to select whether you want to look at 1 year of data, which for this would be 2021 data, or if you want to look at three years of data, which would be 2021, 2019, and 2017. You're going to select a grade level. You can select all grades, select a grade level, and then you're going to select a gender category. If applicable, you do not have to look at it by gender. You might know that this is the first year where we have offered a question that's a little bit modified. It includes students were asked to kind of say, are you, and then identify as male, female, or other. This is kind of our first introduction to sort of exploring and expanding that question. Just note, a quick note on suppression rules or privacy rules. So you will not see any data when you do not have, there are not at least a minimum of 25 valid, honest surveys at the grade level. So if we don't reach that minimum, which is also the minimum we use for reporting, you will not see your data. The same goes for subgroups. So within those, if you do not have at least, let's say hypothetically 10 female 8th graders, if you do not meet that suppression rule, you also will not see the data. So those suppression rules are designed to protect the privacy of students. And when we're looking at data, like at a district level, and then and down to the grade level, and then down to the gender level, those numbers get pretty small, right? So we want to protect the identity of our students. So those suppression rules are in place, and honestly, they kind of just work in the background. You don't even need to think about them. So let's look at a category example. And here's a screenshot of an example of bullying and internet safety, where the category I picked was bullying and internet safety. The entity type, I wanted to look at state level data. Pennsylvania, I wanted to look at 3 years of data. I'm looking at 8th grade data and female data. So you can see here again, if I was like a middle school counselor or someone who is focusing on middle school prevention, this would be a great way to look at 5 different bullying topics. For specifically 8th grade females, and see maybe how their data has changed over time, where if there's like a nice downward trend or upward trend, and just to kind of see how the data look at that level. If you actually look at the data by county or by district, you will also see a state level comparison. So you'll be able to see at that more local level how your data compare to the state. And that's a really pretty cool feature too that we'll explore more. The category tool always has a table at the bottom, a data table, which you can export into a CSV format, or you could also actually just click on any one of these and it's going to take you to the variable page. So again, I'll provide a demonstration of this, but in general, that's just kind of the look of the category tool. So let's shift to the variables tool. You would use the variables tool if you're interested in looking at a narrow item. So just one survey item at a time, but you're interested in looking at how that one item looks for 6th graders, 8th graders, 10th graders, 12th graders, or by gender or by grade and gender. So you're really interested in just one topic at a time, but you want to really see how students within your community at all grade levels and by gender, really what they say and how they feel about that one particular item. So a variables tool, again, is really good for, I think, honestly, broader prevention level folks at the district level, where you're concerned for students in all grades, or where you might be trying to kind of explore problems. So you're saying, you know what, I want to get a handle on suicide ideation in my district. This would be a great place to explore because it would allow you to look at issue by issue and kind of see, be able to kind of identify where the problems or where the needs are. So you could look at, for example, suicide considerations in the past year, and maybe you would see, oh my gosh, our 8th graders are really struggling with this. Or you'd be able to look at bullying and say, oh, wow, this is a 6th grade problem. This is kind of the type of tool you would look to kind of see things on a more broad level. Let's see, the same steps pretty much exist. First, you're going to select a category. So these are the same categories you saw in the category tool. Then once you select that category, it's going to list all of the variables or items that fit into that category. And you're going to select one. You will again select if you want to look at the state level data, county or district. You will choose whether to view the data by gender or grade or both. And then you're going to adjust the formatting, which I'll show you how to do that. You can adjust the size of the scale, you can export the chart, etc. Let's look at an example. So this is an example, honestly, from that same kind of bullying safety category. We're going to look at inappropriate internet contact by gender. So you can see here that the category we selected was bullying and internet safety. The variable we chose, so the survey item, is inappropriate internet contact. We're looking at state level data for, of course, the state of Pennsylvania, and we're going to look at the data by grade. We're not going to look at it by gender. We're going to look at it by grade. And again, you can see here for this one specific item, I'm able to kind of look across this and say, okay, well, it looks like in 2017, this was actually something that 10th graders in the state were struggling with the most. Both the 10th and the 12th and the 8th grade, honestly, have been showing a downward trend over time. But as of 2021, our 12th grade inappropriate internet contact and 10th grade inappropriate internet contact are about the same. So again, this is where you would go to study one particular item or variable or topic, and you would just really be able to look at it by grade or by gender. So the data crosstabs tool. This is the most powerful feature of the tool. And honestly, a lot of the data dashboards on like Tableau and Power BI are not able to actually allow data users to look at the data in this cross tabulation format. And when we say cross tab, we are talking about cross tabulation, where we're looking at one item by another, and then that mix between my fingers, that is the cross tabulation, where we're looking at how those two relate to each other. So this is an example of what you would see on that crosstabs tool. So you're going to use the crosstabs tool if you're really interested in diving into your data. You want to see and study the relationship between two items. So you don't want to just know about inappropriate internet contact. You also want to know about who that applies to. Are students who have inappropriate internet contact more likely to be cyberbullied? Are they more likely to be considering suicide? You want to know not just about the one behavior or belief, but you want to know about the relationship so you can better understand the story of those students. If you are interested in doing any grant writing, reporting, anything like that, proposal writing, this is a really powerful tool because the data stories that you're allowed to tell are really, really powerful when you look at the data this way. This is considered to be more of an advanced tool. So this is one where, again, I do not want you to stay away from this tool because I'm telling you it's more advanced. So I'm telling you it's more advanced, but I'm telling you 100% play around with this tool, but you do need to proceed with just a little bit of caution and maybe just give yourself a good amount of room to practice before you, for example, like, you know, go to the newspaper and present some data for the state of Pennsylvania in general. So you have 5 simple steps here. Again, you're going to select state, county, or district. You are going to select all the other things. So your grade, your gender, and then the big things to do, honestly, the most important things or the trickiest things I would say are selecting your filter 1 and your filter 2 and your question 1 and question 2. So what do I mean by that? These are the 2 questions that you're cross-tabbing and you want to find that intersection. So you have to think about which questions do I want to pick? What do they want to be? What do I want them to show? And then also what order should I put them in? Can I just put them in willy-nilly? No, you can't. The order is really important. So your question 1 is called officially the primary variable. But a better way to think about it is that's your what. That is the what you want to explore. And I'll explain more on that when I talk about question 2. So question 2 is officially the contextual variable. If you didn't know that, now you know that. That's a little bit of information for you today. The contextual variable is who you want to understand. And I think with approaching this data, oftentimes when I do this own type of analysis on my own, the who to me is almost as important, if not more important, than the what. Or for me, the who, I'm just a who person. I'm a person who is interested in other people. So starting on question 2 is where I naturally go, where I say, okay, who do I want to understand? Do I want to understand kids whose parents think it's not wrong for them to use alcohol? Do I want to understand kids who are being bullied? Do I want to understand kids who are using marijuana? Who are the kids you want to know all about their life? That would be your question 2, your who. And then the what is, what do I want to know about those kids? Do I want to know for the kids whose parents don't think it's wrong to use alcohol? The what I want to know is, do they actually use alcohol? So again, your question 2 is your who, your question 1 is your what. So you'll, once you get those down, you're going to select your grade population. So is the who 8th grade students who have been bullied? Is it 10th grade students who have been bullied? Who do you want to, the grade level, and then also the gender. So there is a certain formula for interpretation. In this example I'm showing is 30, my who is perceived parental disapproval. So these are the students whose parents don't think it is wrong for them to use alcohol. And then my what is, I want to understand, based off those perceptions, who is actually using alcohol. So we strongly recommend you use some of the supplemental documents. So we do have a using crosstabs handout, which you can download and just kind of use as a reference. But in general, this, again, you're going to just take a moment to, again, just kind of think about the who and the what, wrap your brain around that 100%. And then kind of the next thing is just really, it's important to be mindful that the order of the questions is really important. And this is the one thing that just takes practice. It's just a muscle that you have to build, and it just takes practice. But that being mindful that the order is important, it's just important. You are going to take a second to kind of consider the formula. So oftentimes it's easy to just plug in questions. It is less easy to talk about the data or to say, okay, I see this table. What is one sentence that will encapsulate what I am seeing here? And that is difficult, like, or that is, again, a muscle that just has to be explored. So I usually use this formula. Of the students responding X to question 2, and that's the who, Y is the way that those students responded to this other question, the question 1. So in this example, I would say of students responding that their parents didn't feel wrong for them to use alcohol, the question 2 of those students, 5%, or actually it'd be higher than that, 50%. Of those students said that they had used alcohol in the past 30 days. And that's my question 1. So this formula, if you're using it, I would suggest you honestly just kind of write this template out and just get practice plugging in question 1, plugging in question 2, and just getting used to this formula of just kind of how you talk about these data. So let's do an example. For example, if you're interested, again, I'm just going to kind of keep using this example. If you're interested in examining 30-day alcohol use, which is your what, in relation to students whose parents feel it's not wrong for them to use alcohol, that's going to be your who, your number 2. So you would choose X21A, which is how many times in the past 30 days have you had beer, wine, or hard liquor for question 1. And you're going to select B10D, which is how do parents feel about, how do your parents feel about drinking beer, wine, or hard liquor for number 2. If you're not quite sure, again, about the order of the questions, again, just think about who do I want to know about their life? And honestly, it helps to really just kind of picture a specific kid in your head. Do you want to know about an alcohol user? Are you concerned about kind of figuring out what makes an alcohol user tick? Or are you more concerned about just kind of imagining a kid who lives within a home where their parent says, hey, if you want a beer, go get one from the fridge? So in general, just kind of, again, thinking about the who and the what, and in general, just thinking about what am I interested to learn and who do I want to learn about. So let's apply this formula to interpretation. So this is a screenshot of this combination. And this is the order in which you would look at it. So in general, when you see a table, the general rule of thumb, and this is another just kind of cheat, is to find the 100 and read down. Never read across. It's not going to give you what you want. Read down. So for example, if I find the 100 and read down, I will see, okay, of kids who said their parents think it's not wrong at all for them to use alcohol. That's my who, right? My question 2. Of the kids who said, my parents don't think it's wrong at all to use alcohol. Of those kids, actually 3/4 of them, 75%, have said that they used on no occasions. And then 10% of those said that they used on 1 to 2 occasions, 5.8 said they'd used on 3 to 5 occasions, etc. Versus of the students who say my parents think it's very wrong for me to use alcohol. Let me get my laser pointer. Of the students who say my parents think it's very wrong to use alcohol, of those students, nearly all of them, 91.8, said they've never used alcohol. And you can see there's a really big difference between the perceptions of students who say their parents think it's not at all wrong and those that say very wrong. When it comes to, if you can just find the 100, you can actually add things. So for example, I could add 10.6, 5.8, 2.4, 2.1, 1.3, 1.5. Get out my little calculator. I'm not going to add those in my head. I could say, okay, this is because I have a 100 down here. I could say of students who say their parents don't think it's wrong at all for them to use alcohol, 76.4% said they've used alcohol 0 times, and then 23.6% have used 1 or more times. So as long as you find that 100, you can add. It's kind of the basis for interpretation, etc. Let's flip that and see kind of how the data are different just by the order of those questions. So here, my question 2 is actually an alcohol user. I want to know what the behaviors and experience of an alcohol user is within, this is looking at all grades and all genders. So you can see it's flipped. And then I'm still trying to figure out, my what is, okay, well, how does parent disapproval apply for that? So again, I'm going to read down. I'm going to find the 100%, and my interpretation is different. Of students in the state of Pennsylvania who said that they have not used alcohol any times in the past 30 days. Of those students, those non-alcohol using students, 73.7% of those kids said their parents think it is very wrong to use alcohol. 16.9% said their parents think it's wrong. 5.1 said a little bit wrong, and only 4.3 said that it's not wrong at all. Versus, let's see, of students who said they've used alcohol 1 or 2 times in the past month. The data are pretty different. Far fewer students said of those students who had used alcohol a couple of times in the past 30 days. Of those students, just under half said their parents think it's very wrong. And their parents are much more likely to just kind of think it's wrong or just a little bit wrong. So hopefully the big takeaway is here is that the order is different and the who is different. Here, my who is alcohol users. In the previous example, my who was individuals based off of just kind of what their parents thought about alcohol use. But the interpretation is different. We do have a reverse questions toggle. So you can just click on that and it'll flip the questions and you can, again, just get practice. But the practice comes in finding the 100 and reading down, using those formulas, and just kind of just getting comfortable with the data and being patient with yourself while you learn. So let's shift next to a live look at the site and what it can do. And again, we will have just a brief Q&A session, but I want to be able to have plenty of time to show you, and we'll explore that a little bit more later. Let me see. In the show. Okay. So here we have the tool. I'm assuming you can all see this in your screen. If you can't, let me know. But here's the tool. And in general, again, we have the home page. We have getting started. We have the categories tool, the variables tool, the crosstabs tool, this prevention background, and the contacts. I want to show off just briefly the feature that we have that allows districts to sign in. We haven't yet released this to superintendents, but hopefully within the next week or two, we will be sending superintendents an access where they can create their own password for this system, and then also recording a special video for them that walks them through this login process. But I've created a login for, I am pretend that I am Murray Johnstun. I am the superintendent of any town school district. So I am going in, I'm just clicking over here to log in, and I'm going to put in my credentials, the password that I set myself, and I'm going to log in. And honestly, there's no big explosions or fireworks, but now I do have access to my any town school district data. So when I go to the category tool, let's say I am, let's look at mental health concerns. Let's look at suicide risk. That's a hot topic, an important topic for everyone right now. Because I am logged in as a district level user, I will see state, county, and district here as an option. And so I'm going to select district. And because I am logged in, my login only gives me access to any town school district. That is it. I can't look at any other district. I do not have access to that. So again, this site does all the work. It's only going to give you what it can possibly give you. It's not going to show you and tease you with all the things you don't have. So let's say I'm going to look at any town school district for this particular data. I'm going to look at all years of data. I'm going to look at, let's look at our 12th graders. Let's go look at our 12th grade female students. And you can see here a couple of different things. You can, if you're curious about how many students is 60% of female students, you can actually look at the participation table and get a sense of, at least by grade, the number of students that we're talking about. But you can see here that again, with the categories tool, you're looking at a number of different questions for a broader topic. So this is suicide risk. I'm looking at suicide risk, but for a narrow population. I'm only looking at 12th grade female students here. But I can see that honestly, for this district, there was a big jump in students from of 12th grade female students from 2019 to 2021, a big increase in students who felt so sad that they stopped doing their normal activities, a pretty big increase in suicide consideration. And then for these other ones as well, however, there were 0 students who actually needed medical treatment for a suicide attempt. You can see here all the examples I used in my PowerPoint were really focused on state level data. But you can see here when you're looking at the data by county, or if you're logged in by district, you will see this state level comparison. So this will allow you, again, to tell a bigger story. So for example, in 2017, female 12th graders in my district were actually pretty comparable with the state level for female 12th graders across the state. But the difference is state level data is also increased. What's happening in my district that for this population of students, things are increasing at a much more dramatic rate than they are at the state level. And this is an example of, again, just kind of the type of analysis you can do. Not only you can study your own trends over time, but you can see relatively to the state if it's something that you should kind of flag your attention or you should explore more. Some other features, if you right click on any of these charts and just do save image as, it will allow you to save the image as a charting file. There's this toggle here. So for example, if you're looking at like cocaine use or methamphetamines, which are always super, super low, you could click on this little toggle up here and it would change the scale of the chart to be something that might be a little bit more readable. These data down here, you can export as a CSV file. And then let's say you wanted to look at several counties in comparison. This would be a really good way to do that, is if you kind of find the combination you want to do, go from county to county and download what you want, you could create your own chart or table that shows those in comparison. But it will let you do that. And then 2, let's say you're looking at suicide risk and you're like, this is really interesting for my 12th grade female students, but I want to see how these data compare across all grades. If you click on any of these, it's going to take you to the variable tool and it's going to queue up that automatically populated analysis. So let's show an example of that. I could also just click up here to go to the variables tool, but let's kind of use this as an example because I think this is most often how this shows up. Let's say I'm actually really interested in this incredible jump in students who said that they were so sad they stopped using usual activities. Actually, let's do this one. This one's a little bit more standard seriously considered suicide. I'm going to click on it. And you can see here, it has popped me to the variables tool. It has already pre-populated this, so it's kind of done some work for me. I'm looking at the category suicide risk, seriously considered suicide. I'm looking at all grades, so I'm just looking at the data by grade. I can see when I look at here that honestly, there is not one grade within my district that is immune to this concept. For this particular item, this particular variable, I see that 6th grade saw an increase, 8th grade, 10th, and 12th grade. And actually, maybe 8th grade is the one that I'm most concerned about. I was looking at 12th grade data before, but when I look at this side by side, I can see the 8th grade is the grade that saw the biggest increase, and likely what is the biggest difference between the state level and my district. And maybe that might be where I was just like, okay, you know what? We saw this for 12th graders, but oh my goodness, our 8th graders are really needing some help. And while I'm at it, I could say, go ahead and look at this by gender and just see, okay, this is something that increased pretty dramatically for female students. Male students, surprisingly, actually saw no change when it comes to suicide considerations from 2019 to 2021. If anything, they saw a tiny statistically significant decrease. And then now I have 1 year of new data about students who marked other. So the one thing I can tell you is if you are seeing data here, it means you do have a minimum of 10 students who who were identified as this other. This is the category that they marked. And you can see here, this is not surprising. We see this in other states that have this type of data. Students who identify as non-male, female gender, or who are not sure, students who are, for our states that do have a sexual orientation question, Pennsylvania is not one of them. This is not surprising. Mental health is definitely an issue for these students, which just reiterates the importance of having this as a demographics question on the item. Okay, we're taking way too much time. But in general, we still have the participation table you could check out. We still have the ability to export this data. You could say, you know what, this is for my district. Let's take a look at how my students compare to Armstrong County. This is kind of arbitrary. But you could, if you're looking at a district, switch to county, or if you're looking at county, switch to district, or any of that, or see how your county compares to a county, a neighboring county, to see how your data compare. But once you have your kind of categories or variables locked in, it's really easy just to be curious about how your data compare to other areas or populations, just so that you can get a frame of reference and understand your data better. Okay, now the crosstabs tool. Again, we have this handy item here, or this handout here, where you can understand crosstabs a little bit more. If you are not sure about all the questions you have at your fingertips, you can take a look at this survey question reference. So let's say that I'm curious about bullying, but I don't even know what my options are. I could just do a control find for bully. It would point me right to the item. And I think honestly, most often we ask about bullying, bullied. So maybe I just type in bull. And it would point me towards all the different questions I have. So if you're coming to it and honestly you're kind of new to PACE and you're not quite sure what information is at your fingertips with this tool, using this question reference is going to allow you to kind of get familiar with the content we have here. So let's say again, let's say I'm going to look at data at the county level this time. Let's do Bucks County. I'm going to do all grades, gender. Let's say my who here is students who have been bullied. I want to know what their experience is like. So the filter is going to allow me to just kind of help see what questions I have at my fingertips. Let's look at cyberbullying. My who is kids who have been cyberbullied. My what do I want to know about these students? Suicide ideation, if they're using substances, what their family conflict is like. That could actually be really interesting. My what here, let's say, just because we were just talking about mental health and suicide risk, let's say of kids being cyberbullied, I want to kind of explore what their experiences are, or their thoughts and their feelings about suicide risk. And let's do, again, seriously consider suicide. So that's my what. So again, I'm going to find the 100 and I'm going to read down. Of kids who said big no, I have not been bullied through texting or social media in the past 12 months. Big no for that. Of those kids, 10.5 said that they had seriously considered suicide, and 89.5 said no, they hadn't considered suicide. Of students who said big yes, 100%. I have been bullied through texting or social media in the last year. Again, I'm going to read down. Of those students who said big yes, that's my who, 43.6% had seriously considered suicide in the past year. And about the reverse of that, 56.4% said that they had not. So again, I'm thinking about my who, which is question 2, the what, which is question 1, and then I'm finding the 100 that I'm reading down. Let's say I'm just curious about how this data relationship is different if I flip those questions. So I'm just going to hit the toggle, reverse questions, and it does the work for me. Okay, so now my who, is students who have seriously considered suicide. So try to picture those students in your mind, or who right now are students who have considered suicide in the past year. Of the students who said, yes, I have considered suicide in the past year, of those students, 41.3% said, no, big no, I haven't been cyberbullied. 27%, about 1 in 4 said, yeah, or no, not really, maybe. I've been cyberbullied. 22.4% said yes, and 8.9% of those students said big yes. Of the students who said, I'm going to find the 100 here and read down, of the students who said no, I haven't seriously considered suicide in the past year, those students were much more likely to either say big no or little no. So that's close to like over 70%. Actually, no, over 80%, 90%, or close to that said either big no or little no. Students who are not considering suicide are more likely to say that they haven't been cyberbullied. But you can see how those are different. And honestly, in this relationship, I think testing them out, finding the 100 and reading down is going to, and using that kind of template to kind of plug in your interpretation is going to help you to identify which is the more powerful or telling or impactful or pointed story that I want to take. And I know from just flipping these, the first for me is more important. But it all depends on the who that you are concerned about. So are you focused on mental health? Are you focused on bullying? That might depend. If you are honestly focused on mental health, that's more important to you. Obviously, the second one might be more interesting to you. Let's see. I think that is, if there is there an example in the chat of a different relationship that you would like to explore with this crosstab tool? I would love a couple more examples, or at least one more example from attendees that we could try out together before we open this up for Q&A and for Phyllis to close down. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy at all. If anybody has any specific questions or something that you're thinking about, just put it in the chat and we'll be able to take care of it.
Oh yes, Sophia, thank you for reminding me about the poll. In preparation for our big Q&A next month for First Wednesdays at 1, where we'll be answering all of your questions, we have a couple of polls that are designed to help us to understand. Hopefully the wheels are turning in your head how you could use and apply this. Maybe you could use it for a grant. Maybe you could use it for your strategic planning. So we'll be sitting out a poll that kind of helps us to understand how you might use and apply this. And another one, just kind of thinking about who do you think, another question about who do you think would benefit from learning this tool? So your participation in that poll is very important. It will help us to better prepare for next month and also prepare our frequently asked questions for this. So please take the time to participate in that. Okay, we do have one from Denise. How about youth feeling close to a teacher versus race? Oh, that is really interesting. Okay, thank you. That's a great one. So for that, let's go ahead and look at the state level. We'll look at all grades by gender. So my who is you feeling close to a teacher versus race. So let's look at it by race. So of students marking a certain race, what the percent that feel close to a teacher. So the who is students, whatever race level, and then I want to know what about them is my question one. I want to know how they feel about closeness with the teachers. So I'm going to start with question 2. That's always what I do. The filter, I think we do have a filter for demographics. I am going to filter for it. It does look like, because this is a mark all that apply question, it is going to make me pick one at a time. So let's take a look at, let's say a majority of students within your community are white. So let's start there. And let's look at school. Let's see, school, try to think. Opportunities for pro-social involvement. Let's do, there are lots, let's do, there are lots of chances for students in my school to talk with a teacher one-on-one. Actually, I wonder what we get for this. Oh, actually, let's do, my teachers praise me when I work hard at school. How about that? So my one is students within the state of Pennsylvania that say that they are white Caucasian. Of students who said yes for that race, of those students, 10.8% said big yes. My teachers praise me when I work hard in school. 40% said little yes. So let's say, honestly, let's go ahead. You can actually just copy these data and just Control-C, and it'll plug right into an Excel with all the formatting if you want to create your own big like multi-comparison table. But let's say while I have these plugged in, that is the relationship I wanted to look at. Let's look at how this could be different from Black African-American students. You can say here, actually, it's a bigger yes, like 11.8 said big yes. My teachers praise me when I work hard in school. 40.7 said little yes. Let's look at the difference for students who are Hispanic, Latino. And here, this is broken down into a number of different Hispanic, Latino that lets us understand. But let's just say for Mexican-American students, of them, it's different. Of students who said that they were Mexican-American, or Chicana, of them, only 8.3 said big yes. My teachers praise me hard when I work at school, and it's still about 40.9% said the little yes. Those students are more likely to report big no or little no. Let's see how that could compare for American Indian or Alaska Native. So of students who said yes, they also are more likely to kind of say that big yes in terms of getting praised for working at school. And then Asian American, are really comparable. So in looking at all of those, from across all of those, my curiosity has me saying, well, it is actually very curious that the Hispanic students had a different sort of relationship with this one particular question versus others. Something I would like to explore in our next Q&A next month is more interpretation on this. So we know that a relationship is not necessarily causation. So these crosstabs might be showing you a correlation between one thing and another, but they're not really telling you the cause of it, or they're not necessarily saying there is a cause. So there's lots of other things we can do that will help you to kind of identify and explore these data over time. That was a great example. Thank you. I am going to turn it back to the moderators for a Q&A, or Phyllis. We're just about at the end. Phyllis, if you want to do your wrap up, I'll leave that up to you. Whatever you guys want to do. I'll stop my share.
Thank you so much, Mary. That was so great. We are so excited about having this opportunity to really look at our data in a really different way. Sophia, you want to, I see here you have popped up the poll questions to kind of get an idea of what we're going to, how we think we're going to use the tool once we get used to using it. And as Mary advised us so wisely, to go in and start playing with it and seeing what it looks like. So looking down, Sophia, did you want to, anything you wanted to bring up for the group?
No, I just thank you guys for participating in the poll, and I think we'll review more of these answers before our next meeting next month.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to take a very few minutes here and go through some updates that are happening. That even while the summer's going on, and we all hope you're having a wonderful summer and doing some fun things, we are still doing a lot of work with PAYS. We definitely have some new things that are going on. I know last month y'all spent some time really walking through the new user guide. I hope you've had a chance, and we hope you've had a chance to go online and take a look at that. And I am going to go online here in a minute to show you where it is, just so you can be mindful. We have gotten great feedback that folks really are digging into this guide and really utilizing it. One new thing that has happened that we are super excited about, and I know there was a lot of discussion about the videos, but we now have a video library, and it's a YouTube channel that I want to show you what that looks like now. And really what you're going to find there is a lot of really great information. So I'm going to hop over there really quickly. If I can stop sharing here for 1 second. Well, if I can find my stop sharing tool, that would be very helpful. Oop. There we go. Got too many windows open here. So I want to go and I want to share with you the new, or as I said, the new, our new website for our video library. And well, goodness gracious. Oh, I have way too many windows open. Give me a second here, y'all. Sorry. Here we go. So this is basically what our YouTube channel looks like. If you haven't had a chance, you can go through our website to get here. You will see currently there are 10 different, I believe it's 10 different videos that are up here. And if this is the entire library, if you've been to our site, which is this site here, if you've been here, you will also see that, did y'all see the switch in the screen? Did y'all see that? Did you see it? Somebody give me a heads up. Yes. Okay. So here, if you click, there's some options for you to just click directly into some of the videos. But we do recommend that you go directly to the video. We have included here the direct link to the YouTube. On our end, we are going to be working on really trying to make these things super accessible, get them out there, and really make them very user friendly for you. We are hoping to also, as we're moving forward here, with our social media, this is another thing. We hope that you really had a chance to start digging into some of the social media that Lee reviewed with you last month, or months before last, I guess, in June. And now's a really good time. And I know sometimes we get really busy, but if you've got a little bit of time before things start again in the fall, we encourage you to, start looking at these, take a look at the social media. On our end, we're going to be working to, again, make these things very accessible for you and easy to utilize. And we will keep talking about these things as things are being developed. Another thing that's in development, we just want to give you a heads up about, is there is the title of the report now is the State Sample Snapshot. This is going to be a very infographic focused report that is going to highlight a lot of different topics. Our target date to finish that is towards the end of October, November, somewhere in that. So look for the release of that. Just wanted to give you a heads up that that was happening. We also have been talking about this webinar series, and I just quickly want to go through this, the ideas that we've had so far. We're looking at having quarterly themes and looking at how we have our first quarter where we're going to be focused on our web tool. This is where today Mary did an awesome job rolling it out and introducing it to us. And then September, we're going to do a deeper dive. Mary's going to help us kind of give you a little time to process and get in and play with the tool a little bit. She's going to talk, as she was saying earlier, a little bit of a deeper thought process of what to look for. And then in October, we're going to have an extravaganza around the tool, where we will, have some, we're kind of thinking through exactly what this will look like. But again, opening up a variety of times throughout October that you can log in, have the experts there to help you ask questions, because we really want you to utilize this tool. Now, going on to the second quarter, which will be November to January, we are thinking that we're going to talk about spreading the word. You've done some really great work with your crosstab tool at that point. You're going to have some new data. And now we want to, let's talk about how to get the word out there. We proposed that we spend November with social media, December talking about traditional media and some of the other more traditional ways. And then January, we probably are not going to have a webinar that month, just because it's right after the holidays and everybody's getting going. Moving on to the third quarter, which would be February to April, we're going to be focused on youth, talking a little bit about a curriculum project that we have that's in the works that we're hoping to pilot in this upcoming school year at some point. We're talking about, maybe talk about some youth summits and how we can get PAYS integrated into other youth activities. Then finally come that last quarter, this is when we're actually going to start recruiting. Can you believe that already? For next school year to do the PAYS. So again, we're always forward thinking and trying to really think of the ways that things are going to be most informational for you. Your links here to submit a question or provide us some suggestions. If you have ideas of what you would love to hear about, please click on this link, because we want to hear from you. We're here to provide you with the information, and we want to keep everything really actionable and moving forward. Speaking of which, your last call to action before we end today, we want you, as Mary said, that the school district level tool will be released in a couple of weeks. We encourage you to reach out to your superintendent just to remind he or she that they have the tool. Let them know, talk to them about it. In the meantime, also show them. It's a great reason to kind of go meet with them beforehand to show them this new tool and say, hey, this is online. Did you know this was here? Get the conversation started. Again, the second bullet, familiarize yourself with the tool. Get in there, start really looking at how this tool can help you tell your story. Mary brought up some great examples for grant writing, for all these other very formal things that we do all the time. But I look at it as a great way to start talking about the PAYS data in a different way, and getting people excited about it again. And then finally, join us next September, or in September. Our next webinar will be on the 7th. Again, as we said, we will make a little bit of a deeper dive, and we will, kind of see where we can go. Ask questions, send us a question if you have about the tool, if you have questions about other things. Make sure you complete the survey that Sophia will make sure you have before you leave today. And we definitely hope that we see you next month. Is there anything else from our hosts or panelists that I missed or need to share?